I just so appreciate what you do for our students. You will never know the impact, your full impact. You'll never know, but you can rest assured and have plenty of joy in knowing that you make a huge difference. And tonight, we're recognizing the very best. And you are an example, you're a model. And I just encourage you to keep that perspective as you help others be the best that they can be. So on behalf of all our students, especially our students, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Congratulations.
We're going to hear from our 2022 Aware Award winners to speak about their experience as a winner. So first up, please help me welcome our 2022 winner in pre-K first grade, Julie Morris.
Good evening. I am so grateful to be standing here before you this evening. I was honored to be named last year's Aware winner in my category, and the award came, to be honest with you, on the heels of a very challenging season of life for me. For a while, life didn't look at all like I had planned. Mornings were not marked by the 8:10 bell, and it didn't end at 3:35. Instead, life consisted of a series of tumor markers, scans, chemo appointments, immunotherapy, surgery, and radiation treatments. During those months away from school, so much happened. 2 precious members of my family also fought for their lives, and I lost both of them to cancer. Returning to the classroom wasn't easy, and I struggled to find my footing again. But I knew I needed to see their sweet faces and hear their laughter. My purpose is in the classroom, and I knew that I needed them just as much as they needed me. As all educators understand, the job isn't easy, but our students are worth the work. My favorite memory of my Aware experience was the encouraging notes each observer left me. Their words were intentional and spoke life into me. I believe education is my ministry, and their words of affirmation were sweet balm to my heart, spurring me on in my purpose. Last year, my husband and I started a pancake breakfast ministry at Arlington High School. It is called El Roy, meaning the God who sees me. In the wake of COVID, many students were disconnected, isolated, and needed to know that they were seen and loved. We put some of my winnings toward the startup of that ministry with the hopes that students would truly believe that they are seen and loved right where they are. Recently, I heard a story about a man named Captain Charles Plum. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy and was a jet pilot in Vietnam. After 75 successful combat missions, and while on his last flight, his plane was destroyed by a missile. Plum ejected and parachuted into enemy lands. He was then captured and spent 6 years in a communist Vietnam prison. Years later, while safely back in the United States, while Plum and his wife were sitting at a restaurant, a man at another table came up and said, "Hey, you're Plum. You flew jet fighters in Vietnam for aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. You were shot down." "How in the world did you know that?" asked Plum. The man replied, "I packed your parachute." Plum gasped in surprise and gratitude. The man pumped his hand and said, "I guess it worked." Plum assured him, "It sure did. If your chute hadn't worked, I wouldn't be here today." Plum couldn't sleep that night thinking about that man. And Plum said, "I kept wondering what he might have looked like in that Navy uniform, a white hat, a bib in the back, and bell-bottom trousers. I wonder how many times I might have seen him and not even said good morning, how are you, or really anything, because, I was a jet fighter pilot and he was just a sailor." Plum thought of the many hours that sailor had spent on a long wooden table in the bowels of the ship, carefully weaving the shrouds and folding the silks of each chute, and each time holding the fate of somebody in his hands that he did not know. In education, we are a team of educators, coaches, and administrators with a common goal to educate, grow, encourage, and push our students to the next level in order to help them to reach their maximum potential. We have a network of people we can call on for support, resources, encouragement, as well as advice. In a world where so many rise to the top by stepping on others, education should always consist of building blocks where we esteem one another, push each other to the next level, and pull up those needing a lifeline. Sometimes we meticulously fold the silks and we pack other people's parachutes. Sometimes we rely on the lifeline of others folding and packing our parachutes. Be intentional, alert, and willing to esteem your fellow colleagues. I've been speaking into our position as educators, but I encourage you to think about your everyday life. If you are a nominee, you are likely accompanied by a spouse, family member, or close friend or colleague. Who has packed your parachute? These are the people who have spurred you on and encouraged you in your profession. They have been a champion for your own personal, professional, and educational growth. Be sure to recognize them as some of your most important parachute packers. None of you are here by chance. Somebody sees something exceptional in you and your ability to reach the youth of Arlington. Let that soak in for just a minute. You stand out. You are change makers. You are educational champions. You are emotional coaches, and you make a difference. With any challenge that we face in life, beauty comes from ashes if we choose to see it. My hope is that all who hear the story of Charles Plum and the sailor are inspired to support each other just as they did. We rise by lifting others. Be observant. Keep packing those parachutes of all that you come into contact with. And in the words of Miss Tilly Bergen of Mission Arlington, don't miss a life.
I am so happy to be here tonight to celebrate so many champion educators in Arlington ISD. AISD has held my heart since I was 6 years old, walking into Miller Elementary School. I spent my days at Miller, Young, and Martin High School, and then returned just 3 years later to do my student teaching in AISD as well. I've taught all 16 years of my career here, and all 3 of my children are currently being raised up in AISD's walls. Receiving this award last year was a staggering honor. Being celebrated so beautifully among such giants in our field was a buoy and a boon that will be forever written on my heartstrings. I can't think about last year's ceremony without feeling overcome with emotion. Having been surrounded by master educators my whole career, I feel grateful down to my bones for the honor of the Aware Award. I also believe that the receipt of this award last year allowed for doors to be open for me. During the months that each sweet observer was joining me and my students, I was also in the application process for selection to join Teach Plus, an organization with the mission to empower teachers to take leadership over key policy and practice issues in education. I believe that being named an Aware Award winner last year helped to solidify my selection as a Teach Plus Policy Fellow, which has proven to be an incredible experience. I've collaborated with other educators across the state to research and write solutions to some of the greatest challenges currently plaguing public education. Just last month, we traveled to Austin to meet in person with legislators to present our data and expertise, reminding them that we are the ones with our boots on the ground, and imploring them to make decisions based on the feedback and testimony of classroom teachers. It was an inspiring experience, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to return again next year as a second-year fellow. To be honest, this was a year that I needed this specific reminder to feel empowered to make my voice heard. This was a year I faced hardship like never before in my field. While much of this year was spent in the trenches with tear-stained cheeks, my heart beat for the students of Room 501 and for all the students of Arlington ISD. I'm committed to them and their success. I'm confident that each of you are as well. That commitment means we need to be willing to think differently. I'm reminded of a book that I read this year titled Think Again: The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know by Adam Grant. He says, we learn more from people who challenge our thought process than those who affirm our conclusions. Strong leaders engage their critics and make themselves stronger. Weak leaders silence their critics and make themselves weaker. I want to be strong. I want AISD to be strong. I know you do too. The first time that the truth of that quote resonated deeply within me was in 2014. I had just returned to teaching after 7 years home with my children. Coming back to the classroom was like learning another language. So many things had changed. At every turn, I was challenged to embrace new teaching techniques, learn Google and all things digital, and figure out what in the whole wide world an anchor chart was. It was humbling and hard. I had to listen to critics and evolve into a new kind of educator. I want to remain in a constant state of evolution. Since my return to the classroom, and more specifically post-pandemic, I've had to learn to shift my previously embraced approaches to better meet the needs of a new type of learner, one who carries much heavier baggage than their counterparts from just a decade earlier, but one who grips my heart just as tightly. Like all of you, I've pursued extensive training to better understand the growing needs of our populations of students that carry tremendous traumas at no fault of their own. Like you, I've trained in TBRI, embraced PBIS, and I've read countless books about the neuroplasticity of our children's minds and how we, our classroom teachers, can help guide their thinking to affect change in their lives and futures. However, this school year, I was brought to a crisis point. Like every year, I have a room full of students that quickly captured my heart as we became this year's iteration of my 501 family. The big behaviors of many of our students have done nothing but increase since the pandemic, and their mental health needs are staggering. I love each of these students desperately, and I want such good for them. This year, I found myself in the most terrifying situation, with a student in grave danger. I lacked the resources to adequately provide the support that was desperately needed. As the fear of this situation has abated, I remain gripped with the urgent need to advocate for all students and teachers that could find themselves in similar situations. We've got to rethink. We must evolve. Schools statewide are desperately under-resourced. Far too many special education teachers and behavioral or interventionists on individual campuses. This is just one area of public education that needs attention across our state. Arlington is a special city. With our beautifully diverse population of students and families, we are uniquely positioned to make cutting-edge decisions and approve policies that are not satisfied with the status quo. Referring back to Adam Grant's Think Again, AISD is perfectly poised to listen to the critics, challenge their thought processes, and become even stronger. We, Arlington ISD teachers, board, staff, parents, can be the strong leaders that are needed to usher in evolution and innovation that'll bring efficacy. We can change the face of public education for our students. Thank you so much for the honor of the Aware Award and the privilege of getting to speak to you tonight.
Good evening, Arlington ISD family. It's hard to believe that it's been a year since we were here together last, and what a year it has been. Leading up to Aware last year, I was faced with more challenges than I could ever have imagined, but was also filled with more joy than I've ever experienced. I laughed more, made more positive parent phone calls, and planned more fun and engaging science lessons than ever. I watched my students test their own personal limits, and even had a student who came to me on a first grade level make a 100 on a test for the first time in her life, at which point we ran into the hallway to FaceTime one of our favorite people and tell her all about it. The AWARE process was so much fun, and the judges' visits were always so exciting for all 4 of my classes. Their sweet notes and feedback were always appreciated and a constant reminder of my why in a very difficult season. Through that season of refinement, I learned to love my students and coworkers better than ever and to truly meet them where they were. I realized that many of the things that my peers and students came to school with were out of their control and that it was my responsibility to love and serve them however I could. This realization allowed me to walk into each day with peace and joy, even when it didn't make sense, and truly allowed me to be the best educator that I could possibly be. No matter what my students faced outside of school, I was determined to make my classroom a refuge and be a champion for each and every one of them. This year, I've been given the opportunity to serve as instructional coach at Little Elementary. I decided that my word for the year would be rebuild. To me, this word meant leaving all of the challenges of the previous year behind, finishing my master's degree, and growing both personally and professionally. Because of AWARE, I was able to pay for my last semester of grad school and completed my master's in educational leadership. Thank you, judges. Thank you, judges, for not only investing in my life, but the lives of those who I will teach and lead in the future. As I think about the people who have shaped me as an educator, the ones at the forefront of my mind are my first principal, Shelly Austin, and my dad, who are here with me tonight. From a young age, my dad instilled in me an unconditional love for people and the importance in meeting their needs wherever they are. In doing so, he was preparing me to be an educator long before either of us knew it. I'm grateful for an example of Jesus in my life, who taught me to love and serve my students just as Christ did. The verse that comes to mind when I think about my dad is Matthew 25:35. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. The example that my dad set made it easy for me to love, accept, and meet the needs of all of my students, no matter their background. While my dad played a critical role in developing me as a person, my first principal did the same in shaping me as an educator. From my first year as a teacher, Shelly put me in leadership roles to develop strengths that I did not even know that I had. She created a safe environment for me to grow, learn, and even fail at times. Not only did Shelly help to develop my instructional practices, but she gave me the best role model of servant leadership that I've ever known. She even taught my virtual math classes one day so that I could go be with a friend who needed me. Shelly, thank you for taking a chance on my brand new teacher self, for being my cheerleader every day since then. I would not be who or where I am today without your guidance, and am more grateful for your unconditional love, support, and the time that you've spent with me than you'll ever know. I would not have agreed to teach virtual 5th grade math for anyone else. Beth Ann, aka Bethy, thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve on your campus this year. Our students and community are truly one of a kind and make Little all that it is. Thank you for speaking truth into me and for being able to stop my overthinking mind with that signature principal look of yours. I'm so grateful for your guidance and will take much of what you've taught me into my next season. Finally, Dad, thank you for being my biggest fan, for always dropping what you're doing to listen to me, and for being a walking representation of Jesus every day of my life. To everyone in the AWARE Foundation, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to come watch me and my students in our element and for seeing the absolute best in me when I couldn't see it in myself. Over the past year, my role as instructional coach has given me a new perspective on teaching and made me even more passionate about my role as an educator. For the last few months, I've felt a pull to go back to the classroom and implement all that I've learned as a coach from a teacher's perspective. I'm excited to say that this fall I'll be going back to the classroom as a 4th grade teacher. I look forward to meeting my new group of kiddos in August and being Miss Kinchen once again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe that it has already been, short-term problems, okay. It is hard to believe that it has already been a year since I sat at this banquet and listened to the last winner give the speech. And to be honest with everyone here tonight, I still sometimes walk by my award sitting on my shelf in my classroom and have to remind myself that I was the 2022 Junior High AWARE winner. So the fact that I am standing here tonight honoring the tradition of giving this speech still feels surreal. I also have another confession. I did try to ask my husband to write the speech for me. I couldn't help it. I know many in this room know him, but for those that don't know Ray, he is a high school principal formerly Seguin's principal, so he has given his fair share of speeches over the years at graduations. I don't know how he does it. This room is a fraction of the size of the audiences he is used to, and I'm a bundle of nerves right now, standing on the stage. But you can all rest assured, he told me no. So this speech is my voice and my journey that I'm going to share with you tonight. I actually didn't think I wanted to be a teacher. I come from a family of educators. My parents didn't push my brothers and I to get education degrees, but my dad always asked us, "Are you sure you don't want to add a teaching certificate, just in case?" I turned him down every time he suggested it. I was determined I was going to do something different, but I graduated with a finance degree in 2008 at the height of the recession. And I decided to start substitute teaching because it was flexible enough to pick up jobs on days I didn't have interviews. I worked at my mom's elementary campus a lot so I could spend time with her and help her in her classroom. My confidence grew with each subbing job, and I began trying to teach the lessons instead of just passing out worksheets to the kids. I learned the hard way what ages I enjoyed the most. After a very traumatizing day in kindergarten, that was clearly passing around a stomach bug, I determined that all early childhood teachers, they are blessings, but I am not equipped for that. That is not me. The more I subbed, the more comfortable I became with the rhythm of the classroom. The daily routines felt familiar and grounding. The unpredictable nature of kids added interest, oftentimes a lot of humor to the day. No 2 days were the same, and I enjoyed that it never got boring. Needless to say, I slowly stopped applying for those corporate jobs I once was so determined to pursue. I eventually decided to be brave and try some older grade levels. My sister-in-law suggested I sub at her campus to try it out, so in 2009, I started picking up jobs at Bowles Junior High. I was asked to do a few weeks for a math teacher after Christmas, but those 2 weeks turned into 12, and all of a sudden, I had to do everything. Collaborate with the math team, create the lesson plans, grade the papers, enter the grades. But everything clicked into place for me in those 12 weeks. I remembered how much I had enjoyed learning pre-algebra when I was in school, and it was so fun to figure out how to teach it to others. I loved the quirky awkwardness of middle school students. I loved their sarcastic banter. I loved their energy. So as a math teacher, tonight I decided I would play to my strengths, give you guys some data that I collected while reflecting on my journey. I spent 12 years in Arlington ISD. I worked at 3 junior highs, Bowles, Owsley, and Bailey. I had 6 principals, each of them having different leadership styles, but all having the same dedication to making their school the best it can be. I was a member of 3 incredible math PLCs where we collaborated, we created, we worked hard every day to try to convince kids not to hate math. That was hard. I've taught more than 1,200 7th and 8th grade math students, and that is a lot. I can also thank Arlington ISD for my marriage. Ray and I actually met teaching at Bowles that first year. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary this past November. And tonight, I finally get the opportunity to do what he has done so many times in those speeches he has given, say thank you. You are my best friend, my biggest supporter, my favorite passionate educator. You have coached me through some of my toughest teaching moments, and you tell me what you really think, even when I don't want to hear it. I love you. I am so glad that I had the opportunity to spend the last 3 years in AISD at Bailey Junior High. Something you should know about my Ram fam is they don't like to win. They love to win. They have had many teachers win the Aware Award over the years, so when the faculty nominated me last year, I was very honored that they felt I was worthy of representing them in this process, and I was very relieved that I didn't disappoint them. Lastly, I want to say thank you to the foundation and the selection committee for the honor of this award. I am truly humbled. You'll be happy to know that the prize money went to good use, doing what my family loves to do, traveling to beautiful beaches. We spent this last Christmas in Grand Caymans relaxing and recharging for this spring semester, and we really enjoyed staying a little longer than usual, thanks to the Aware Foundation.
Welcome, everybody. It's good to see everybody here. So I know I'm like the last person to go before we get to the main event. You're not here to see me, so I've got a few short words to go through. Okay. So to start off, let's shake the tree a little bit, because as we heard earlier, time for new innovative things. So something that I like to do in class is start off with what we call a 60-second relate break. So for the next 60 seconds, I'm not going to talk. You are, to each other. And I want you to share your favorite memory with a student this year. Begin. 3, 2, 1. All right. Excellent. You all did a really good job. Imagine that in a room of great educators, right? Excellent. So, we're all here because of one reason, and that's the kids, right? We all got into this field with great passion and love for not just the science behind teaching, but the art of it. And every one of you here that's working in the classrooms is an educator, and that comes with it a great sense of honor. You're going to see a little theme as I go through what's left of the, long stuff here. Let's see if we can find out what it is. So, they like to start off with the money question, right? What'd you use the money for? Well, happy to say that it only took 7 years, but I finally have matching living room furniture. And so to all of the winners tonight, and actually, like, just by being nominated, you are all winners. You really are. And if you do end up going home with the big cheese, make sure you use it for something you care about. Some of the money did end up going back to my beloved barbecues. Ray, this is all your fault. And if you don't know what that is, that's our high school barbecue team. I'm the culinary arts teacher, go figure. So it's one of those things where put it where your passion is. We heard some great examples of that earlier tonight. I want to take a second, again, to thank all of the significant others, spouses, fiancés, support iguanas, whoever it is that's your security net at home, that's helped you become as amazing as you are. Because it is without that support net, without my wife, I would not be standing here today. I love you. Now, I want to thank the Aware Work Committee for demonstrating amazing and effective community engagement. Seriously, this is a big undertaking. And if you are one of the nominees or a past nominee, you know exactly how much effort has to go into this on their part. And so, between the observations, the time taken out, the interviews, seriously, thank you, because without effective community partners, in a time where educators are constantly belittled, we would not be able to carry on. So thank you. Now, for our teachers, the nomination of this award carries a great amount of prestige, and it helps boost the morale within our schools. I can't tell how many people came up and said congratulations last year. I really couldn't. But it seemed to have an impact among more people than I figured it would. Because, let's face it, when one of us wins, we all kind of win, right? And so bringing that joy into our schools resonates with the kids. Because again, we're all here for the kids. And so we can bring our good attitude, our good mood, our joy to them, well, you might find that they're able to handle a little bit more of this tumultuous time that we're in. So those are pretty big things, right? Now, the theme of the speech. Anybody get it? It's gratitude. Let's just be thankful, right? And I try and teach a little bit of this to my kids every day, to be thankful for the things we have instead of always looking at the things we don't. And so tonight, I am thankful for you, for this community, and for a pretty darn good dinner. So, thanks, guys. And on that note, congratulations to all of the nominees. Best of luck to you all. And good night.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's the time we've all been waiting for. We're going to announce the award winners. We are thrilled to announce the runner-up and award winners of this year's Aware Foundation. So here we go. Okay, this first award, this is the runner-up of the 2023 Aware Award in Excellence of Pre-K through First Grade. And the runner-up is Miss Kristin Koch from Little Elementary. Mrs. Koch's nominators said, Kristin Koch is a life-changing teacher. She's the kind of teacher that every parent wants for their child, that every teacher wants to work with. But most importantly, she is the kind of teacher every kid wants and truthfully needs. As a pre-K educator, Mrs. Koch navigates many issues facing our district's youngest population and provides a safe environment for them to learn and grow both educationally and emotionally. She says, I can attribute almost every student's success, whether it is academic, behavioral, or social, to a relationship with that student. Mrs. Koch, your love for your students shines brightly, and we are proud to honor you on their behalf. Congratulations. And now, the winner of the Aware Foundation Award of Excellence is proud to announce the 2023 Pre-K through First Grade winner is Miss Danielle Brigham from Farrell Elementary. Now in her 7th year at Farrell Elementary, first grade teacher Danielle Brigham's nominator says she is master at classroom management. This allows Ms. Brigham to provide highly effective instruction where her students make tremendous amounts of growth. Mrs. Brigham says the most important facet of teaching is the relationships I build with students and their families. Students know that I care about them beyond the curriculum, and parents know that I am a partner in raising them up to their full potential. The nominator says, the students hang on every word she says and are always looking for ways to make Mrs. Brigham proud of them. We know your students will be just as proud of you as we are to present this award to you. Congratulations to Mrs. Danielle Brigham. Okay, I know, yay! The 2023 Aware Award of Excellence runner-up at the 2nd to 4th grade category is Miss Cindy Parker from Hill Elementary. Cindy Parker's nominator says, Mrs. Parker allows learners to truly feel like art is messy and everyone is an artist, and can take risks with their products and truly see themselves as an artist. Mrs. Parker uses a read-aloud almost daily to show how art is in literature and calls roll in a unique way that gives each student a voice. It is because of this work that Aware is using its voice to honor Miss Cindy Parker. And now we're all wondering how you take roll every day. And now the winner of the Aware Foundation Award of Excellence, proud to announce the 2023 winner for 2nd to 4th grade category is Miss Jamie Hesser at Bryant Elementary. Mrs. Hesser's nominator says Jamie is a servant leader who adds value to the team, no matter what role they play in the vision of the school and community. She has a passion for what she does and wants to impact the community around her. She is a difference maker by cultivating an environment that is optimistic and positive. Jamie says, Fostering the love of learning in my kids means knowing each of them and what makes them want to learn. Some of my kids thrive off positive feedback. Some thrive when parents, teachers are proud. Some when it's an unnoticeable high five, and some celebrating that other classmates are in on. Her nominator says her work ethic is magnetic, challenging her cohort of teachers to reach for the same level of passion for students. She goes out of her way to ensure that students and fellow teachers feel safe, valued, and heard. The Aware Foundation is excited to celebrate the outstanding work and leadership of Jamie Hesser, our 2023 winner in the 2nd to 4th grade category. You know, here's what I'm liking about all this is that Dr. Cavazos set a great standard. Teachers don't really like attention on themselves. Everyone who's in that, they're just like, oh my gosh, and they get up and they're like, oh my gosh. I'm just waiting for that one teacher to be like, yeah, that's right. No pressure. The 2023 Aware Award of Excellence runner-up at the 5th through 6th grade level is Tara York Moore Elementary. Mrs. York says, I believe once students feel that they are safe to share their thoughts and ideas and see they have a voice in my classroom, then the magic can happen. Programs and ideologies come and go, but the one constant is the children I serve. Tara's nominator says, when someone loves what they do and has a passion for it, you can tell. And the love and passion for her students shines brightly through Mrs. York every day. By engaging her students in creating eager learners, Mrs. York is being honored this year by the Aware Foundation. Congratulations, Mrs. York. And the winner of the Aware Foundation Award of Excellence for the 5th through 6th grade category is Corey Brookshire, Little Elementary. Mrs. Brookshire, nominator, says she is a master teacher who is the total package. She is respected by students, parents, colleagues, and the community. Corey's focus on building relationships with her students creates a greater opportunity for these kids to learn and gain knowledge. She works hard to incorporate their interests into her curriculum and create memorable experiences for them. Mrs. Brookshire says, I love building a little family each year, and the Aware Foundation is proud to bring Mrs. Corey Brookshire into our little family of Award of Excellence winners. Okay, her last name is Brookshire. So let's give it up for Mrs. Brookshire. And now the 2023 Aware Award of Excellence runner-up for the junior high category is Miss Christy Jones, Young Junior High. Mrs. Jones' nominator says, Mrs. Jones has taught 2 of my boys. One, very much a choir student against his will, and one, a show choir kid who is loving it. They both love Mrs. Jones. Christy says, over the years, I've cultivated a pretty strong mama bear vibe, and they all know that they fall under my protection. I enjoy a good challenge and never settle for the status quo. My students catch on to this and really love achieving at high levels and pursuing excellence. Her nominator says, why any sane person would purposely put themselves in that pit of awkward puberty hormones, body odor, and off-the-chart unregulated drama is beyond me. But I thank God daily some people are just crazy enough to do it. The Aware Foundation is proud to honor choir teacher Christy Jones as the runner-up in the junior high category. And the winner of the Aware Foundation Award of Excellence in the junior high category is, I'm not going to say this right, Miss Francilia James, Workman Junior High. Mrs. James' nominator says, the moment I walk into Mrs. James' class is as if she waved a magic wand to get the students to focus on reading language arts. It's not magic. It's a gift she has with our students and delivering the content in a way that engages them. Mrs. James says, "Love and logic guides me daily," and that being able to be vulnerable when I make a mistake and being honest about it with an apology, trying things outside of my comfort zone, and daily we ask students to work outside their comfort zone. So I have to model what vulnerability looks like for me. I want them to thrive living in this world as students and as adults. This commitment, this magic to her students has shone brightly through the observation process, and we are proud to present this award to Mrs. James. I got it right, Francilia. Okay. And now, the 2023 Aware Award of Excellence runner-up for the high school category is Miss Toni Worley, the Center for Visual and Performing Arts. According to her nominator, AISD would not be the same without Mrs. Worley. She has impacted literally thousands of AISD students and families in her 41 years here. I have jokingly told her many times she is never allowed to retire. Her response is, "There is still much to do." Mrs. Worley's 41 years as an educator in AISD speaks volumes about the impact that she has brought to our students. First as the choir director at Lamar High School, and now teaching AP Music Theory and piano at the CVPA. Mrs. Worley seeks buy-in from all of her students by trying to find out what their edge is. Her piano program is completely full and includes a waiting list of more than 200 students. Her AP Music Theory class is eager to learn and contains some of the most gifted musical students in AISD. She works to relate to each student in their own musical journey. Mrs. Worley places significance and effort in building trust with her students. It allows them to be free to explore and to learn in new ways. And it's the same for Mrs. Worley as she continues to learn and grow as a teacher, always eager to find new ways to use new methods of technology to help her students succeed. Congratulations, Mrs. Worley. You have earned this wonderful honor by building these relationships with your students and I'm not done yet. And provide outstanding leadership in AISD. Well done, Mrs. Worley. Okay, the winner of the Aware Foundation Award of Excellence for the 2023 year in the high school category is Riley Russell Bruton, Venture High School. At Venture High School, Mrs. Russell Bruton has a unique challenge to help her students elevate themselves out of tough circumstances. She cares deeply for her students, saying, "We fail in private and celebrate in public." During one observation, Mrs. Russell Bruton provided her class with a unique learning environment by turning her classroom into a cafe. The students were able to choose from a menu to complete their assignments that allowed them to explore the subject in a way that was most conducive to them. She even dressed up as a diner waitress to provide additional ambiance. Mrs. Russell Bruton nominator says, "Students, parents, and teachers look up to and respect Riley because she walks the walk, pours everything into the profession, and keeps a growth mindset all the while. There is no one more deserving of this recognition." The Aware Foundation is proud to concur with this assessment and congratulates Riley Russell Bruton on winning the 2023 Aware Award of Excellence.